Hi guys, welcome back to the shop and welcome to any new viewers as well. Also thank you to anybody who has made a comment or asked a question or liked any of the videos. That feedback is much appreciated. Now today what we're looking at is die grinders. We'll look at the tools themselves, we'll look at the range of tooling that you can put in them, and then we'll see how that might benefit us as regards fabrication or just in the general DIY home shop and what uses it might have, okay? Now, before we begin, I must stress here, this is not a review of any particular brand of die grinder. Most of the major manufacturers, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Ryobi, Makita, they all have die grinders in their product line, so to speak. Some of them will be mains powered, some will be cordless, as in battery powered. But this, again, is a review of the tool rather than a specific brand. So anyway, what die grinders are effectively a high-speed rotary tool. They run anywhere between 20,000 RPM and they can go up as high as 35,000 RPM. So when you're using one of these, safety glasses are an absolute must. If you are using air-powered die grinders, some ear protection can be advisable as well because they're quite loud. So as regards the powering behind the tool then, this is an air-powered one here. Obviously requires an air compressor to run it. So the tool itself is quite cheap, but then you'll obviously have to compensate for some of that with buying an air compressor. In addition to buying a compressor, you need a compressor big enough to supply the tool with the airflow that it needs, not just the pressure. So a small 5-gallon or 20-litre air compressor is probably too small to effectively run any air tools. The cost of the air tools themselves, I found a kit online for, I think it was 49 euros, which would be about what, $55, $56, which included the tool itself and a small range of tooling. The mains powered ones run then between maybe anywhere between 100, 150 euros, which is about what, 120 to $160. And then at the upper end of the scale then is sort of the 200 to 300 euro mark, slightly over $220 to $50 somewhere there, probably for body only without the actual battery pack included with it. So they have a commonality in them, power at the back, be it air, battery or mains, a motor in the middle then, and then a tool holding mechanism up the front. This particular one in there has different speed ranges, which is very, very handy because some of the tooling that we use mightn't be capable of running at 20,000 or very, very high speeds. It might be limited to 10 or 15,000 RPM. And we'll say there is a very strong recommendation on my part that you use correct spec tooling in your die grinder because some of the tooling isn't capable of running at some of the higher speeds that the die grinders run at. Anyway, up the front of all die grinders, generally speaking, the tool holding mechanism is a collet system. And the way a collet system works is similar enough to a drill chuck where you have a number of jaws and the jaws clamp down on the round shank of the tooling. So this air powered one here, we'll just demonstrate. It came with 2 little wrenches or spanners. And the way they work is there's a flattened section on the shaft of the tool to clamp one side, and then the nut on top has flattened sections as well. And as we tighten the nut against the shaft of the tool, it closes in that clamping mechanism there, and that's what a collet system is. Those collets, you generally find them in sort of 3 sizes. The smaller size would be the 1/8 of an inch, which is about 3 mil. That's one there, you can see the 4 little jaws. The sort of standard size would be 1/4 inch, which is this fella here. And then I have seen 8 mil, which is 5/16 tooling as well, but they're for much bigger machines. I think the small ones, the 1/8 of an inch ones, would be Dremel, if you've come across that brand for sort of small high-speed rotary tooling. And then the standard version, as I said, would be about the 1/4 inch one. Now, as regards to tools, pretty much anything with a round shaft or a round shank will fit in the tooling. I would point out that, I'll just show you here, this fella here, as we can see, maximum 10,200 RPM. I'm fortunate enough that I can control the speed, the maximum speed on this with this three-way switch here, so I can move the speed down to match that particular tool. With the air powered one, I don't have that option. So if you are looking at buying a die grinder, I would strongly recommend getting speed settings, maybe 10,000, 15,000, and then whatever the maximum speed of the die grinder is. So from a tooling perspective, we've sort of three broad classifications. We have these sanding cartridges here, which work very well for rust removal, especially again because you can get them into the internals of pipes, into corners where you won't be able to get a flap disc or some other type of tooling. They come in a range of grits and sizes. Obviously this one here is 60 grit and a 60 by 30 mil. The next category of tooling will be sanding stones or abrasive stones. Now, broadly speaking, they break down into sort of three grits which are available. The pink ones are generally about 60 grit. The white ones average around the 100 to 120 grit, and then the blue ones are generally about 300 grit. I strongly recommend that you check on the packet that you buy what grit they are, because those colors might not correspond to where you buy them. It's not an industry standard or anything like that. Now, where those standing stones come into their own is the range of sizes that you can get. Sizes and shapes, sort of ball shaped, cone shaped, conical, pancake, rounded, you name it. You can get them in many different sizes and shapes to suit the application that you have as regards finishing. So that's the sort of abrasive stone section. Further on then, for, we'll call it very aggressive metal removal, you're looking at carbide burrs. And these range in price. You can get a cheap set of maybe 5 or 6 burrs for 12 or 14 euros, which is about 15 to $18 somewhere there, up to many hundreds depending on the quality and the manufacturer. There is a range of shapes and sizes of these as well. Little ball shaped ones, sort of more conical, oval or rounded at the top, etc., depending on the application you have for them. There are different varieties available as well for cutting different metals. We say like the softer metals like aluminium or copper would have a much bigger tooth profile, for the want of a better description. Some of them do a double cut tooth profile, other single cut tooth profile, etc. So read the packaging and make sure that the carbide burrs that you have or that you're getting are suitable for the use case that you have. What I'll do now is I'll just run through a number of examples. Now, this is a demonstration of, we'll say, a 12mm hole, which is just shy of ½ inch. And if that hole was in the wrong place, and let's say should have been over here, our ability, especially if we're hand drilling, is very limited as regards how to move that. If we try and drill another hole beside it, our drill bit will just fall into this hole and we will not be able to drill a hole beside it. Not right next to it anyway. We could drill one further over, but we're still left with a gap then on each side. So our options here are widen that hole by drilling it much larger. And let's say if we were significantly off on a half-inch hole, let's say by quarter-inch or whatever, we'd have to drill a much larger hole, which from hand drilling would be difficult, and secondly as well to actually take out an awful lot of material. So our other option then is to use the die grinder to extend our hole over slightly so that we could actually match up with a fastener that we had to use. And what we'll do there is just do that now, okay? So as you can see, very effective material removal, depending on where you wanted that particular fastener. So that's the get out of trouble or get out of jail free card that a die grinder can give you, okay? Now that's die grinders and their uses, or some of the possible uses for them. You will find more obviously if you buy one. As regards whether you need one of these or not, if you're in a professional environment where you're doing metal fabrication, yes, I think one of these is necessary. From a homeowner's point of view or a casual user's point of view, not so much. My recommendation there would be to find somebody with one that you could borrow it off them, you know, as and when required. So that's about it. If you have any questions, stick them in the comments down the bottom here, and that's about it. Okay, see ya.